Absolutely on time like a beagle. I don't know about all that blue coming over from there. I don't make blue movies. I don't make blue streams. All right there. That's better. A little bit of white. All right, how's it going? So this could be weird. Hey! Right, so we may have a guest. It's a good one. So let me get this grift out of the way quickly so we can get on to that. I don't know exactly when he might be coming, but, my day has been a nightmare. Hello, Livy. Oh, where'd you go? Livy. Yeah, it's already weird, isn't it? Absolutely on the dot. Yeah. No, Cheryl Peters, she comes tomorrow. She'll be here for the music festival. That's tomorrow night. Hello, Rusky. Hello, Just Sean Packers on the phone. Will Martin, Grego, Baz, John Francis, Ben Holmes, loads of people. And I'm sure more would become. Get the old Ouija board out. Me, McAfee, and Agister. Right, let me just get this entropy sorted out. You know how it works, lads. If you're ever going to donate some money, do it when I've got a guest on, because that makes it works better for me. There's more value than the financial, even if it's only a quid. Hang on a minute, we're nearly there. So I finished my stream this morning, immediately got into loads of wrangles at work. Oh, this ain't working, this is that. But they said this, we've got to do this. What's this? And then it was like, hang on a minute, you've got 30 minutes to get food in and market the stream, put out the short, do the community poll. Went down a little bottle of hong at the end there. Can you do this prawn fried rice? Yeah, no problem. Got home, 10 minutes waiting. And then they rung me up and went, nah. I was like, thank you. I had to zoom across town to get a burger. They're nice burgers, though. And then shoved it down so fast, I was still sort of pushing food into my mouth while it was still up to there in my neck. And now it's just sitting very heavy. Right, okay. Let me change the pinned comment to the entropy, because that makes sense. Right. Then I can cut that out. Right, this won't take long. All right, there. You can support this channel. You can join. You can become a member. That's the top link in the description. Those people get private streams. They get private streams. Yeah, there's free strata, 3 different values, and you get more intimacy the more you cough up. They're like quid, 4 quid, 8 quid. Super chat. It's a $sign at the bottom of the main chat over there. An entropy, link in the description, link at the top of the live chat, and I've just put it in the chat. So there you go. We are also broadcasting on Twitch. Twitch is going all right, weirdly. Get a few people. Cheryl Peters, you want to meet us? And today's weird grift. Hello, Scrubber-Dubs, our host. Can you see how excited I am? I mean, I know I do the occasional hyper stream. Look at the bed sheet, still not on the bed. I've got to sort that out tomorrow. I've got to take the bins out. I've got to empty the 2 toilet bins. I've got to empty the kitchen bins. I've got to get the sheet on and the duvet on. Duvet's still over there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good shot. No, that's that. So, yeah, that. Oh, so that is in many ways a confession that I've slept on a bed with no duvet or sheet for 2 nights. You don't need a sheet or a duvet. Sheet, pillow, duvet. Yeah, I certainly don't need a duvet. The girlfriend likes it. She gets under it. I'm like, are you joking? It's like, no, I haven't had a few bevies. I am absolutely excited. Thank you very much, Cheryl Peters. That is how you open the doors. Looks like you've made a fort. Well, I did get under it. John, you've nailed it. Cheryl, thank you, love. Because I put the pillowcases under it, so I had to get under it. And when I was in it, and it was catching the sun, I did sit in there for probably more than necessary, because I was just sort of going, this is like a camp when you're a kid. not camp like Jimmy Carr. Alan Carr, same bloke, one gag. One's gay, one isn't. It's much the same. It's the introvert and extrovert. But no, I have not had a few bevies. I've done a stream drunk once. It was my birthday, do you remember? And everyone was just throwing money at me. And I was going, I don't know what's going on here. But it was good. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Hang on a minute. I was on time. It's all going well. I mean, I don't even know if this bloke's coming. At some point, he might go pop into there's a little digital green room down here. And it's weird because I don't know whether to get started. I'm going to just get started. I haven't got anything prepared because I'm lazy. No, not lazy, busy. I've been mad busy all day. But some mad things going on. I mean, some absolute lies from the left, from these late night. I don't even watch them. These late night show hosts. Oh, hang on a minute. It would appear a guest has just turned up. I am absolutely buzzing. Shall I bring him in? Your mic's not on, Daniel.
Hello, I don't know why you're so excited about me. It's just me. What's going on? Good Lord.
Dan, I'm even foaming at the nose.
How embarrassing. Good Lord.
But not as embarrassing as Apple AirPods, which have become a staple of my streams. So, ladies, and look how happy. Look, it's not just me, young Daniel. Look at the chat going absolutely bonkers. Look, we've got an absolute rah! And we've got it's Dan. Yay! We've got Dan with an exclamation mark. Tito said, hooray! Someone's called you the Icono. And look, it's just amazing. Look, they're just going crazy.
This might be a bit too high energy for me, this stream. I just wanted to chill out for a bit. I don't want the fucking nonsense. But thank you, everyone. Hello.
I will calm it then. Okay. All right. Dan, I will bend over backwards. Let's just clear that up. It's not I'm not going to bend over the other way for you. What an absolute pleasure. I think what you don't understand, or maybe you do, but I think, you know, you had a massive channel and so many people loved it. And when, look, listen, I gave up my channel. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I got into a bit of trouble with some sleepers and people were gutted. And that was 3 weeks. And when I came back, people were like, oh, thank God, thank God. And you've been gone for a long time and people miss it. You know, I got so many emails going, I don't think you realize how important your streams are in people's lives and that. And so when people like me and you do sort of go and you know, people really miss it. And so, yeah, that's why I'm over the moon. And that's why the chat is over the moon.
Well, that's nice to hear. And I do get that a lot, not to blow my own trumpet or anything, but I do get people saying, oh, you really did this and that. And that's always nice to hear. But I think now, I think the paradigm has completely changed, that I can't really do the thing that I used to do. And I'm sort of happy about that. I'd much rather just jump on here randomly and have a chat and do things more casually like that, because I've said everything I need to say in that sense. And everyone knows the problems. I can't tell them anything new. And, you know, the reach is gone now. And that was the strength of what I used to do. And I'm more than happy to just be a part of whatever this is now and just pop in and out and be a guy. It's nice. The pressure's off.
There's a lot there I daren't say to unpack, but I'm much the same with the cause. I said it all and I was saying it again and again in different ways. And I thought, I can't just keep saying the same stuff. And also, I'm not going to lie, I wanted to keep my YouTube channel. So I thought, well, what else do I do here that can add something to people's lives? And, you know, we've got a lot of people off drugs. I say we as a community, and you know, I just had to change what I was doing because, you know, like you and what was it, Way of the World seemed to get quite quite the break for a while there, and then
it was weird.
They just had you.
Yeah,
well,
there was
do you know?
Go on. Well, I was going to say, me and Way of the World have been compared and contrasted quite often. And there was a point where we both got booted off in the same day. And it was clearly a coordinated effort because there was articles on CNN about me, right? And Russia Today and all this sort of stuff. And then YouTube sort of reversed course and reinstated both of us at the same time. And it was almost like it was just a little glimpse into, when this eventually happens, it's somehow going to make the news. Although you walk down the street and the average person on the street's not going to know anything about it. So it's a bubble within a bubble almost. But it's strange. I mean, I don't know what Way of the World's doing now. I would suspect he's much in the same position as me. I don't feel like he would get the reach and the feedback that he would get before. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I think the movement as a term, it's in a bit of a limbo at this point. You've got to sort of reevaluate how to move forward. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I think, it's good to be out of your comfort zone sometimes and try and invent yourself in a different way and try and reach people in new avenues.
For sure. I mean, there are still some channels that I can think of a couple who I think they've been very clever in the way they've adjusted, sort of kind of Darwinian, adapting to the new environment. Mark Dice, Lord knows how he's still up with a massive, I think he's nearly 1 million or over 1 million. And Salty Cracker. Do you know Salty Cracker? I'm
afraid I do not, but it's a great name.
Well, this is the weird thing. His live streams get like 20,000 people. And
that's pretty good.
His channels, I think his channel's about 700,000. And he offered to, he said the other day, he said, have you seen my super chats lately? He said, I'll pay for the audits. If anyone needs any audits, he said, just send me the check. And he's not joking. It's like 20, 50, 50, 100, 20. And and then what he does halfway through his YouTube stream, because it's like improvising, but he has it's a news channel really. And then he says, I'm getting too close to the bone. Link in the description to Odyssey. I'll see you there in a minute. And as usual, you go over to Odyssey and the numbers are cut in half because people don't want to leave YouTube. Even though they're loving it, it's like, I don't know about going somewhere else. I don't know about doing something new to get the same information. But I see Salty Cracker as like the 2021 iconoclast in many ways.
I'll have to check him out. I'm so out of the loop in terms of who's popular, who's doing what. I find it, I mean, I don't know what his content's like, but I'd find it surprising if he is going as close to the bone as what we used to, because I don't think that's allowed on YouTube anymore. But I was on Morgoth's podcast a couple of months back, and we were just talking about things in general. And I said, who are the closest, who I think will be next on the chopping block? It's all of these channels that are so popular. They've got millions of subscribers. And what they do is they dissect Hollywood movies. They go in,
that's interesting.
Attack it from the woke angle. They break it down and they do all that. It's people like The Critical Drinker, if anyone
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah. And Mauler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those guys. And there's a lot. It's a huge side of YouTube now. And I get recommended their stuff all the time. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I met The Critical Drinker that we could sit in a bar and talk about what I used to talk about on the channel. He might get it, but he's at least relating what he's seeing in popular culture with society at large. And he's making those connections, and his audience is massive, and they all know it as well. So in terms of the people that I think are closest to what we had going in 2018-19, I look at that scene and I think, yeah, that's on its way. That's on its way. It's an interesting angle to get in there as well from that perspective.
That is actually really interesting because, a lot of this battle is fought out in culture. And so, Hollywood's propaganda. So they're actually attacking the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. And that's interesting because I watched The Critical Drinker and Mauler. Not Mauler so much because
very long.
They're a bit Star Wars.
Long. Yeah. It's, I mean, listen, they've all made millions criticizing The Last Jedi. You know what I mean? They've done it to death. But that's fun as well. I enjoy watching that stuff.
No, for sure. I know. I have watched a lot of it, but the Critical Drink, I watch everything, and I do. Every time he mentions, it's another strong lady, Mary Sue, who can take on everyone, and I just think that's actually really political at the moment, and you're criticizing a very powerful industry here. So you reckon they might be the next on the chopping block? I hadn't thought of it like that. I just saw it as a positive. I thought, yeah, good on you, but I don't think they're silly people. I think they know the rules. They know the paradigm they're operating within. But let's just say something big happened in their scene. So, for example, the new James Bond film's out right now. I haven't seen it. And it's Daniel Craig's last Bond movie. Now, as always with Bond, there always seems to be this conversation like, when are they going to replace Bond with a black woman or something? Now, imagine if they did that. Just imagine. Do you think these channels would hold back on that? No, they go for it. And I think that might be, when things develop to that level, then that's probably when they'll become a bit of an issue because their audiences are so big and they're directly challenging another conquest by the left in popular culture. And we know that's how they make their advances, by doing that. And if they directly oppose that, which I'm sure they would, because why wouldn't they? That's their entire shtick. Then that's probably when they'll get in trouble. So I'm just watching. I'm interested. I think things are progressing pretty quickly. I think I want to pat the likes of me and you and a load of other people for what we were doing 2 or 3 years ago, because when we were talking about all this, a lot of people just, it's conspiracy theories, you're nuts, blah, blah, blah. And actually that has sort of flowed down to the likes of film reviews, as you've just pointed out.
Yeah, of course.
But also, yesterday I had a jet pilot on. Is Tim Davis. He's been on before. Lovely guy. He does. It's not motivational speaking. He'll kill me for saying that. But he gets groups of men together who've got issues and problems because men have in life because they're being chucked out the back door of society, and he teaches them to fly jets and things, and talks to them about overcoming fears and resentments and all the usual stuff. And I played a little bit of one of his videos yesterday, and he's in a cockpit, and he sort of says, well, what would happen here is your oxygen gauge comes up, so the man would say, he says, oh, sorry, old woman, or man, woman, or oh, hang on, is that racist to say that? And that, for all that stuff that we were talking about a couple of years ago and suffered for in many ways, my channel was growing lovely. And I started talking about all that.
Yeah.
Nothing. And as you say, it's sort of gone down into the film critiques. But even a jet pilot, sort of not intrinsically political, but he had to mention it because he knew that he said the man would do this. Oh, sorry, you're a woman. And then he said, is that racist?
Yeah.
Be quiet.
That's interesting how he just teaches guys how to fly jets. I'd like that as a hobby. Yeah, I'm just learning how to fly a jet. It's all right. Just what you do, isn't it?
I tell you what, Dan, he was on yesterday, and he laughs at me because I'm just like a 5-year-old talking to him because he's literally flown he was a bomber, not a fighter jet. It's not Top Gun stuff. Flying 100 foot above the ground, dropping bombs on actual targets in wars. Yeah, and he's very humble about it, and I'm not. I'm just going, fucking hell,
Yeah, I mean, how many people that will ever live will have that experience? That's it's unique. And I'd be like you. I'd be thinking, well, what happens if you do this? Well, if you press this button, how many people did you kill? I'd be going right in there. Yeah, man, that's really good stuff, and I think that relates to something you're doing on this channel as well. From what I've seen, admittedly, I don't watch you every day. Don't shoot me, but from what I've seen, you've made a pivot and you're doing more personal development style things. How people can solidify themselves in life and become stronger in many different ways. And to be honest, I think that's sort of the message that needs to be put out there on a broader level. Because the political route for the stuff that we're doing, I think, is completely closed. And I never used to think that. I remember you and I did that reaction stream to, what was it, Nick Griffin? He was on Simon Harris's channel a while back. And Nick Griffin was basically dropping black pills saying, like, listen, you're not going to get elected. You're not going to do this. The political road is closed, all this stuff. And at the time, we did a reaction basically to try and boost a bit of morale because a lot of people were down about that.
Yeah.
But I remember saying at the time, I said, he might be right. I don't want to give it up, but he might be right. And I think as time has gone on, I have sort of come to the conclusion that unless there's a seismic event that happens in the world that nobody can predict that changes things drastically, I don't think that is the way anymore. And and I don't want it to sound defeatist, but I think if individuals strengthen themselves in their own lives, then you're way better off, and you can possibly hope to build something else in the future. But right now, I think it's a bad situation.
Weirdly, V has put a video out. Remember V? Oh, no. And
that's a name I haven't heard for like 6 years, by the way. No offense, but it just is.
Me and Horace just send old names to each other, like Armored Skeptic, and he'll send a voice message back just laughing. And then he'll send me Leafy. But V's put this channel out about him. I didn't see all of it. I skipped through it. Someone sent it to me. I didn't have a lot of time, and I'll watch it all later. But his point basically is where he thinks that Europe's going to have a massive swing to the right. I mean, I can't see the French. I mean, what's going to happen at the next French general election? I know they have this system that kind of prevents radical parties getting in, but that's only got so much power because it's a fucking mess in France. America is an absolute mess. I can't believe the damage they've done to that country in, what is it now, 9 months? It's and it's planned, they're bringing in all these people. They're dropping them off in Republican swing states so that they get their votes. I tend to agree with you about the political situation, but about the political route being closed. But I still think it needs to be part of a bigger thing. There's many facets to change. Mm-hmm. And if you cut that route off, it prevents you from seizing that opportunity were the bigger picture to make it possible. So like now, that's not going to happen. But if communities were formed like they are, work different sort of organizations are doing, and this happened and this happened, then there might be a way. Well, hang on a minute. It looks like the normies, for less of a lack of a better word, might actually go for this, like they did with the Isle of Dogs and the BNP a long time ago. That they were all laughed at, and they actually had some kind of political impact.
Yeah, I would never discourage people from trying and from including politics and all that in their overall output and what they do. I think it would be silly for me to come on and say, don't even try. And that's not what I'm saying. But when we were doing our thing and when this was at the height, I think there was a genuine populist wave that was going across the West. And I don't think I'm exaggerating that. I mean, I can list the traditional examples of Brexit and Trump, right? And before we get into, Trump didn't do this and that, it doesn't matter. He was a flag in the ground, and it was a milestone in terms of populism. And you could see the rumblings of it going on across Europe as well. I think that wave has been stopped. And at the time, I genuinely thought that we're on the cusp of something here, on the cusp of major change. V, I haven't seen the video you're talking about, but if he says there's going to be a major flip to the right, I actually don't think it's about left and right. I think, as gay and boomer as it sounds, it is actually between globalists and not nationalists, but sort of something else.
Anti-globalists is enough, I think.
Yeah, you could do it like that. Yeah, globalists and anti-globalists. It can be as simple as that, really, because in the last 18 months, when I've just been living my life and talking to people, I've found massive common ground with people who would be leftists or liberals or whatever. And of course, we don't agree on political things, socially, but we agree that the oligarchs and the technocrats are the biggest problem that we have at this pressing moment in time. And that's where I think we are at this point. It's not about left and right, nationalist versus lefty or whatever you want to say. It's more broad and it's more nuanced, and even that is quite difficult to package in a political bottle, because unless you go straight up, listen, we believe in individual liberty over technocratic governance, something like that. But even then, I think it's going to be an issue. It's going to be hard. But yeah, back in the day, I thought that we were on the cusp of something. Now I think it's way more muddy and difficult. There's way more hurdles in our way, and it's just a way of trying to navigate those things.
I think they, without a doubt, I think we were on the cusp of something, and they came back at us with everything they've got. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Packer, and the other people who've donated while we've been talking. I don't want to interrupt the flow because I won't see Dan again for another 2 years. So, but I am registering the donations. I think they came back with everything they got. I think I get a bit pissed with people saying Trump weren't that man, Trump weren't this, Trump weren't that. I think Trump was the best president America's had, certainly in my lifetime. And I've got people like Moslab in the chat who lives out there, who's worked hard all his life, has got a big family, and he'll say the same. He said Trump was amazing. And he had everything against him. And I'd love to see him get another 4 years. I'd absolutely love to. I think it would be fantastic because we haven't got that option in the UK. I mean, look what the absolute mess that Boris has made of it. They're a left-wing party. We know this.
Yeah, so I get. Sorry, mate. I just want on Trump. I get annoyed with that as well because maybe towards the end of his presidency, I got annoyed with him as well because it was clear that the big tech corporations were going to come down hard. Not only on him, but on his supporters, and he didn't do anything about it. He tweeted some things and he talked tough, but at the end of the day, he didn't do anything. But the idea of someone like Trump and what he represented, and I don't buy into this conspiracy theory that he was a planned spanner in the works in order to bring this stuff in. I genuinely think that those elites that we refer to were genuinely taken aback by his election. I didn't think that it would happen. And this is why this is happening now. It's just a complete stamping out of that sort of spirit of rejection of authority and rejection of mainstream institutions, which is essentially what he stood for, because they'd had it their own way for so long, and he came along and emboldened people to say, no, actually, this is fucking stupid. Fuck you. The massive mistrust of the mainstream media that we're seeing is, a lot down to him and what he did when he was in office. And it doesn't matter that he's not our guy and he doesn't believe in everything that I would like him to believe. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to come along who is 100%. So yeah, don't let perfect be the enemy of progress. Is what is my mindset at this point. But yeah, just wanted to say that I agree with you on that. For sure. Yeah,
it really gets me because also, he could have done this, he could have done that. I've never been in that position. It's not as easy when you've got a house and when you've got Congress. You can't just do things. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of organization, a lot of effort. And when you've got impeachments keeping you and your team busy, when you've got Russia collusion keeping you and your team busy, that's what those things are for. Just throw shit at him and just keep him busy so that he can't make changes that will affect the future of this country. We can only guess at actually what goes on in those kinds of places, what actually goes on in the White House, how things actually work. We can watch dramatizations of it and imagine, but imagine. I think as someone said, imagine if Hillary had got in compared to Trump, where we'd be now. It would be chaos.
Well, who knows? I think if Hillary had won, I think we'd be ending up in the same destination, but it would have been more gradual. When Trump got in, it was like, okay, the brakes are off. We're going full on attack mode now against this sort of uprising. And who knows how it's all going to turn out. I don't know what your opinions are of the last US election. I find it incredibly difficult to believe that Joe Biden is the most popular president of all time. I just find that very difficult to believe. But at the same time, I can't really substantiate that feeling. I don't have any evidence that proves things one way or the other. I just find the entire thing completely fishy. But
it's being pulled. it's being pulled apart all over the place at the moment. You know, you don't hear about it because the mainstream media don't tell you about it. But again, you might want to check out Salty Cracker because he's uncovering loads of stuff and all that stuff about the Kraken and the media made her out to be mad. She's still working. She's got a very impressive history in her game. And she's had to take a load of shit from the media, but she's still working. They're still uncovering loads of really dodgy stuff. And it's you know, legal processes take ages. They require funding. And you don't just say, look, we found this out. And the Supreme Court goes, okay, we'll get rid of the president. No, this stuff takes time. And I think people tend to forget that. And they just think this, you know, he no way got that amount of votes, and they just want it all exposed immediately. But you know, look at Watergate. These things take a while.
They do, and I'm not discounting that. Some people in the chat are saying, "Oh, it was on video. They stole it." And I've seen those videos, and I know there's a big recount going on at the moment. I think it's in Arizona. Actually, might be done by now. But my question is this: so. Let's just say, hypothetically, that it is proven by these people that are working on it now that the election was rigged and that it was stolen, essentially. Do you think anything's going to change? Because the big media, the big tech, they're not going to even cover that. I mean, they haven't covered any of it so far. So what would actually happen? You're in a situation where the control of information is the key thing here. And America's so divided, it is literally red versus blue at this point. The red states versus the blue states, they couldn't be more different in terms of how they're handling everything. Would people in the blue states even acknowledge it? They'd be like, no, you're stupid. I mean, that's the thing. That's the situation we're in now. I think back in Watergate times, at least the press was a little more honest and there were journalists around still, you know?
I think if the media didn't deal with it, at least, you know, the media is losing so many, you know, CNN is down 80% of its viewership on, not across all its programming, but some of them. And I think if these audits come out and they're significant, and there was some kind of evidence and proof, and Supreme Court, you know, here, what do you call it? Well, if the Supreme Court said, yes, that happened, this was dodgy goings on, this was fraudulent, this was illegal, and the media didn't cover it, they're going to people will continue to lose faith in them. And I also certainly think the Trump voters will take to the streets if they have got that legal, you know, something legal to go to the streets with and say this needs dealing with. And if it wasn't, if the Supreme Court did make these rulings and nothing happened, America's democracy is finished. It's literally finished. It is now a dictatorship, because the Supreme Court said this, for instance, you know, this is hypothetical, and we're not doing anything about it because we want Bo Jiden as president. It's over. It's absolutely. We've got to be a little bit careful. Yeah. If you say it, I think it's like what's his name? If you say it 3 times in front of a mirror, you get your channel yeeted. but instead of going down this road too much, because we have been here before. At the beginning, you said when you first come on, you said something about, I can't remember exactly the words you used, but it was about getting on with your life. You mentioned something like that. And this is something that I've been trying to sort of promote on my channel, that there was a time when I was streaming, you were streaming, we were all streaming. And, you know, this is me as well, or I wouldn't have been able to see it, but I'd see the same people in 5 or 6 streams a day. And I'd be thinking, okay, so you're watching pretty much the same content delivered by different people in different ways. Different characters, but pretty much the same content, very painful content, very negative on your sense of peace.
Disaster porn, essentially.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Consistently, yeah.
I thought, that done me up. I'd never been so unhappy. I was, my life was dominated by it. I'd wake up and just think, oh fuck, what's happening here? What's happening? And so I just, I had to make a decision to get a bit more local, and to start thinking about what I can do for myself and what I can do for those around me. And that's when my channel started changing, and I started thinking and trying to say to people, look, if you look at the global picture, there are always going to be wars. There are always going to be injustices going on. But this is your one and only life. Occasionally come back into yourself. Come back into the day you're in. Come back into what makes you happy and things you can do. And then we got an investment expert on and a crypto expert on to talk about that. And I tell you what, it was one of the most surprising, and it made me so happy when I had this bloke come on talking about investments, talking about stocks and shares, ISAs, that no one, your bank won't tell you about them. No, put it in your general investment account. Don't worry about stocks. That's for the big boys. And I have had about 40 scrubs signed up to free trade. Have been investing in their stocks ISA. And I get 3 to 4 emails a week. And it's like, look, don't put this on the channel. This is between me and you. But I'm up $3,000 on like 6 months ago. And that, for me, that's 3 months work. And it's like, this is it. This is brilliant. This is what we need to be doing, because working class people have been told that's not for you. We don't get taught it at school. We don't, that's you go and lay some bricks, and if you've got money, keep it in the bank. You'll get your 1.5% interest a year.
Yeah, it's a scam.
It's just a joke, isn't it? Thank you, Doug. Much appreciated. And greetings to you. Nice one. Yeah, Devon put our chat on his channel over on Censored. Nice one, Doug. Muchos appreciato. Yeah, so suddenly we've got people who've never invested before, have got money under the bed or in the bank, which is much the same thing. It actually loses value. It loses value in the bank,
Yeah.
And they're investing it. And there is an element of risk there. But if you're investing in indexes, historically, if you're prepared to go for the long game, you can go through the drops, and 5, 6, 7 years, you can take that out. You're not paying tax on it. You're not paying capital gains on it. And people went for it. That's what done me. People went for it and are earning out of it. And this is where my channel is more going, keeping people away from dangerous and obsessive behaviors and substances, trying to inspire people to get off their asses and make things happen and achieve some kind of freedom and achieve choices and financial freedom as well.
Yeah, I there's a lot you just said there, and there's a lot that I want to come on to, actually, especially crypto, because that I'm pretty heavy into cryptocurrency.
I do.
And before, to be honest, if the Iconoclast channel had been still around by the time, when it got deleted, like June last year, something like that, I think I would have started doing some crypto related content. Because it does feed into that whole, you've got to sort yourself out. And I think the channel for me, and I'll come on to that in a sec, but I think the channel for me became such a job that I did, like, every day I woke up, I opened the computer, I went on Telegram, I went on YouTube, and it was the same stuff every day: disaster porn, fear porn, the world is going to hell. And maybe that was true, maybe it is, but you don't need to be reminded of it every 5 minutes of the day. And I could feel myself just getting dragged down with it. So when the channel got deleted, I thought, you know what? Yeah, I'm pissed off. I worked hard for that. But at the same time, it's sort of a relief.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
And it gave me time to really go deep in the things that I was already interested in, but perhaps were putting off. Now, I've been in crypto since mid-2019. So I've done pretty damn well out of it. I'm not going to give you specific numbers here, but I bought in heavily in the bear market, and now we're in the middle of a bull market. And I'm doing pretty well, and I'm happy about that. But that wasn't just a whim that I did. I researched it. I got in there, and you and I were talking about this a while ago, Chris, on Telegram, and you said it's essentially gambling, and it is. It is gambling, but it can be educated gambling.
Sure.
You know, it's like the stock market. If you invest in Coca-Cola, it's not going to go belly up tomorrow. But your returns are probably going to be lower because it's such a huge company and they progress at a slower rate. Whereas in crypto, it's a lot more volatile and you can lose everything. But even so, it's an emerging industry. And even though it's an emerging industry, there are still projects there that have a track record, that have a good team, that have connections within establishments and institutions that can give you that bit of confidence to invest in. And that's what I've done for the last couple of years. And honestly, I wish I'd seen this earlier and I'd catered my content to try and tell other people, because now it's almost like right now the bull market isn't over yet, but I wouldn't really suggest people get in at this point because I think you don't have a lot of time left. So I think I wish I'd done that. But you're right. I mean, strengthening yourself financially is probably the most important thing you can do. And it's not coming across as like, oh, you've got to have money. You've got to be greedy. No, it's not that. It's about looking at the reality of the society you live in. Prices are going up. Living expenses are going up. Well, in the West they are. I know you're not in the West, Chris. But, it's if you're still in the UK or the United States or in Western Europe, you've got to look after yourself. You really do, because no one's coming to save you if it goes tits up, which it could possibly very much do very soon.
Yeah, and I was thinking exactly that. If you still had your channel and you were putting out information about crypto that you've got proven successes with, how incredible would that have been? And that unfortunately didn't happen. But also, money does give you choices. If you're stuck in the ghettos, which are only going to become more ghettoified, you can, if you've got money, you can get out of them. You can take your family out of them. I've just watched a great movie, a great Mel Gibson movie. It's called Dragged. You're allowed to say that? I don't know. Dragged Across Concrete. And the whole
Hugh was telling me about. He wrote something for my magazine about that, but I still haven't got around to it. He said it was really good.
Incredible, but the whole premise is there's no spoiler alerts. There's two blokes at the start. Mel Gibson's one of them, and one of them is this bloke who's just come out of prison. Mm-hmm. Mel Gibson's wife is disabled, used to be a copper. He's a copper. And their daughter is being harassed by boys on the street because they live in a shitty neighborhood. Yeah. The bloke who's just come out of prison, his son's in a wheelchair. So they both want to get out. They want to get out of the ghetto. And because they know, the bloke who come out of prison, his mum's whoring to pay the rent. His mum's whoring while his disabled son's in his back room. Don't come out in the next 45 minutes, son, because mummy's busy. And to the only way they can improve their life, and this isn't improve as in there's their baseline go up. Their life is getting worse. And so they need money. And that's what the whole film is about. How and so that it really struck me that, because I keep saying this to people, if you aren't generating wealth, and that's not the same as getting a job, it's generating wealth. You might not have choices, and all the things we talk about, demographics, immigration, all the usual problems. If you haven't got the ability to make choices, if you haven't got that freedom, you're really going to suffer from that stuff, because you're stuck there. And so this coming back into your own life, doing things on a personal level to improve your situation, I think is, as you said at the beginning of what you just said, is, I think, a really necessary part of this. When I was talking about nationalism, you'd hear almost token gestures towards these things, like, well, go to the gym, don't drink too much at the weekend, look after yourself a bit, which is kind of all right. But no, actually, also find out how to make your money work, even if it's just your wages. Find out how to make it work for you, because it can. And ignorance will keep you poor, and it doesn't have to.
Yeah, I just saw someone in the chat saying I've lost the comment now, but basically saying that if it all goes tits up, then crypto goes tits up. And yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. And yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah, he's right. He's right. But that's the absolute worst case scenario if it all goes tits up. The reality is, at least I hope, that even though fiat currency is backed by absolutely nothing and trillions are printed out of thin air, we still live in a society that I don't think a massive, complete, total collapse is going to happen in the next 10 years. It might happen afterwards, but I think there's going to be some manipulation to keep it going. And I think you've got to work within that system. Obviously, if it all breaks down, then it all breaks down, and you can have all the money in the world. But at the same time, you can still, within this time period, short-term thinking-wise, you can do enough to really help yourself, And I don't think the absolute worst-case scenario is going to happen. I think anything's possible, but I don't think you should use that as a reason for not getting into this sort of stuff and at least trying to financially protect yourself, if that makes sense. But I do take his point. I think that that's the way it is.
It's a bit loose, though, isn't it? If it all goes tits up, I mean,
yeah. Like, what does that mean? I know I use that term to describe everything, but what does that actually mean? I think a total worldwide collapse. That would just be murder in the streets. So is that really going to happen? I don't think so.
I think the reason crypto, especially Bitcoin, has, and I don't really know a lot about the rest of them, but I was buying crypto at $70. Bitcoin at $70 for one.
Yeah.
And what is it today? 41 grand. It took a knock last week or something. It's about 40.
It's about 31.
I'm talking dollars though.
Oh, right, yeah, sure.
So it's about 41, 42. I think that's grown to that level because of the economic uncertainty, because of the uncertainty and the fragility of the fiat currency markets. That's why I think that has gone up there, because people are thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is kind of separate. Now I know it's a weird one, crypto, because there's literally no precedent for it. There's nothing to compare it to. Well, in the 1640 abacus crypto markets, but as you say, you've done well out of it. When it went up, you might remember this, Dan, I can't remember when it happened. There was a time when it was about $600, and I was sitting there with my live charts on, and it was candles a go, and it was going 650, 660, 670, 70, 80. And I told all my friends, I said, get Bitcoin now. And they're all working class lads, and they got back to me and went, £700 each, 700. And I said, yeah, but that each doesn't mean anything, does it? I'm just saying, if you've got 700 quid in the bank, I would suggest you put it on that. One girl I know actually took my advice, and she put about 6 grand in. Wow. And she's now absolutely, we talk all the time. I told her about her stocks ISA, and I suggested she maybe cashes out some of that crypto, gets some indexes, and gets her 20 grand a year, get her 20 grand into stocks ISA. So so she's kind of, backing herself up a little bit in case there is a crash. And the other 7 or 8 people I called, it's that meme. They told me to buy at 70. I said no. They told me to buy at 700. I said no. They told me to buy at 7,000. And it's
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I would never leave all of my money in crypto. My plan is to take profits and then use that money to create things in the real world that actually, physical things like I've got a small business I'm working on, for example, that I would like to build up. And I think that would be the advice, maybe buy a house or something like that. Well, I am buying a house. That's been made possible by crypto.
Whoa. Did you hear that, Scrubs? Look, Dan didn't know anything about this stuff. He's an intelligent bloke. He researched it, took some risks, did take some risks. You can't deny that. Now he's buying a house. Incredible, Dan. Absolutely incredible. That absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's and I laugh about it because I do zoom out sometimes and I think, fucking hell, this shitty fake internet money's done this. It's ridiculous stuff. And it's an industry full of memes and jokes and like people take the piss, and it's sort of an ironic space to be in. Everyone in it who's done okay for themselves are thinking, look at this, how the fuck have I done this? This is absolutely crazy, right? And it might be a bubble that pops one day, but until then, you can certainly take advantage of it. I've seen people in the chat saying China have banned Bitcoin. Listen, China have banned Bitcoin about 900 times. If you don't, listen, I mean, you can't. It's just happened so many times. It doesn't matter. I can't gaff. Yeah, that's cool. That's really good. But no, I mean, I guess the overall point is obviously I worked and earned some money in order to invest in the first place, but I've taken some of that success and put it into a real world asset. And that's the key. You've got to diversify. I would never suggest people leave all their wealth in Bitcoin or something like that. I think you should take it out and start things in real life. And, in the worst case scenario that society completely collapses and it's like Mad Max, then whatever. But, I'm going to gamble and say that's not going to happen. So, the educated gambling, I suppose. But honestly, I think people should look into it and really take your time and research it. Don't think of it as a get-rich-quick scheme, because it isn't. It really isn't. I mean, unless you can put like 100 grand in straight away, which most people cannot do at all.
Well, if you can afford to put 100 grand in straight away, you're probably
you don't need it.
Finances anyway.
You're okay.
Chris, I've missed a few of your super chats. Apologies, but at the end of the stream, I can pick them up in Entropy, and I will read them all out. It's a weird one because it is gambling. Well, it's not quite the same as going to William Hill and gambling, because the institutional investors seem to be doing all right out of it. So there are ways of learning. Like I brought a bloke Tom on. He's not a professional financial advisor, but he's made millions, and he's hired to talk to legal firms about crypto, about investments. That's what he does as one of his many jobs. And like he said to me, he said, if you can just get a bit of money in your stocks and shares ISA, even if it's only 10 grand a year, or just if you've got the odd 50 quid, buy some index stocks. And over a 10-year period, you've got yourself a nest egg there, tax-free nest egg for some of my age, who's like 49. It'd be nice to know that when I'm 60, I can pull out, and he gives me figures. He says, if you'd have put X amount on this stock, on this index last year, it's gone up 60%. And he did. He can show me the graphs, and it's about having what's the phrase? There's a phrase like just a bit of financial awareness that, and again, I think this is a class thing, a financial awareness that there are things you can get involved in. You don't need loads of money to necessarily benefit from it, and you can get involved. And it's only our education and the European class system that's, I think, prevents most people.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story. So I love my dad to death, but he can't keep his fucking mouth shut, right? It's just the sort of bloke he is. And when I started investing in crypto, he took a massive interest because he's just into new weird things, right? Stuff that he doesn't know about. And he's a very working class guy. He's a painter and decorator, and used to work on the oil rigs. So he's just sort of this guy who's like, "What's this thing you're talking about? Tell me about this." And when I started doing well, I told him, listen, because he always used to ask me about it. I told him, don't tell anyone about this, and by that I mean extended family members, etc. Well, Christmas came around, people came over, and he started blabbing. He had
a couple of Christmas brands.
Yeah, of course, a few Baileys in him, and my aunt was like, "Oh, what's Danny up to these days?" And he's like, "Well, have you heard of this?" And he starts telling her everything, like, because he knows everything about what I've got, and it's just like, why did you? I told you not to do that. So all of a sudden, I'm getting people calling me and saying, "Can you invest like $3,000 of my money into this?" And I'm like, "No, don't give me that fucking responsibility." And then half of the other people were like, "It's a scam. You're going to lose everything." And I think they kind of want me to. You know, it's very split down the middle. So I don't know. I think something like crypto is very like either you're into it or not. Some people prefer real world. I just saw some guy in the chat say brick and mortar. Yeah, I agree. You know, whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't, Dan. I would never buy property.
Well, I'm half and half, mate. I'm half and half. You can't ignore the emerging technologies and industries. I mean, this is a cliche, but people have said that crypto is like the internet in 1995, right? Because back then people were like, what the fuck? Why would anyone use this? This is stupid, right? And then by 2001, everyone's using the internet.
And on that note, I would put any money you have on the NASDAQ tech index. I just throw any money you've got. Well, you know, because people say to me, on free trade, can I buy Bitcoin? I'm saying no, but you can invest in the NASDAQ 100, which is tech companies. And technology is, you know, it's exploding. And we all use it all the time. It's getting faster. It's getting better. It's ubiquitous. You know, Cambodia is just flying at the moment. Average age is 25 or 26 or something. They reckon it's going to be the next success story of Asia. Right. And you know, just think of the technology that a whole country is going to require to build that sort of digital infrastructure. And so you can that's my latest tip. But it's just a tip. But hey, Dan, big question for you. Yeah. And of course, these things can sometimes be private, and I'll understand that. Have you got involved in non-fungible tokens at all?
I've invested in one company, but I don't buy NFTs. I don't buy the quote unquote art, right? I don't buy that stuff because I think that's not for me. But I have put money into a company that has an app that has like a platform for NFTs. Yeah.
Now that's interesting because a minute ago you were saying about you know, people. Can you invest this? Can you invest $3,000 in what you're doing, Dan? And the other half are like, it's all bullshit. It's a bubble. It's the .com bubble all over again. And I saw it in the chat, and it blows my mind that people with, you know, they've read one article about it and they're basing their entire understanding, you know, oh no, it's gonna blow. And I just think, look, if you don't know anything about something, you can just say that. But why aren't NFTs for you when crypto is?
I'm not saying NFTs. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you what I've invested in for NFTs. Right. So there's a company called Ecomi, ECOMI. The coin name is OMI. Now this is a company that has so many official licenses with very famous things. So they've got Batman, the NFL. I think I saw something today. They were going to get Star Wars. They've got Back to the Future, and they create NFTs based on those brands.
Oh wow!
Now I just thinking when I was a kid, I used to collect Pokemon cards. I used to collect all these things. I used to trade them with my friends. Certain cards were more valuable than others because they're rarer. All that sort of stuff. And this is sort of digitizing that entire thing.
Yeah.
And they've got all the licenses. They've got Marvel, for Christ's sake. So I put money into this because I'm like, I can see this being a thing in the future. I don't think it's going to be instantaneous, but I think in 5 years' time, I think, kids will be on their smartphones trading digital Batmans and digital Pokemon cards. Yeah. It's an educated gamble, but I can see that's where things are probably going. Because are you really going to buy actual football cards these days, or are you going to get a shiny graphic on your phone that you can send to your friends and sell it on a marketplace instantaneously? You know, I think and it's hard for people to understand why this is appealing, but we're not of the generation that are really going to be into this. It's going to be younger people that are going to be really into this. That's what I've done.
That's really interesting. We're going to be the old boys who done crypto.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Totally.
going to be the old. What? Oh no, man! My dad used to do all that shit. I mean, crypto is almost now starting to sound a bit old. You know, when I
Bitcoin.
find it when, yeah, Bitcoin. I remember that on the news
Yeah.
way back in
All right,
2000.
granddad.
It's a bit Facebook, isn't it? Crypto.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that NFTs will be the next generation. There's that artist who's made that, I can't remember his name, who made an absolute packet. He auctioned his stuff and he like sold one NFT for like $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of this stuff is money laundering from rich people. You know, it's like when a rich guy buys a $20 million painting, it's a tax write-off. It's sort of the same thing. But I think when the NFT industry sort of stabilizes and finds out what it actually is, I think you're going to see when you. I think that's why I've invested in this thing, because official licenses of already popular brands, I think, are going to be in the heart of that. And I'll say it again: if people want to look into this, look up the company called Ecomi, ECOMI, and just do your research and see if it's for you. Because you know, I think it's got legs and it's a long-term thing, and I'm patient. I can wait, and we'll see how it turns out. But you know, make your own decisions. But I think, you know, in the future, especially if you're of an older generation, it's hard to sort of predict what people in the younger generations will want. Yeah, that's the website there. But I think this is probably on the right lines. So yeah, this is it. This is their app, VV. It's still in beta, so it's very early, still in beta, but they've got all these official licenses.
And they've got Ghostbusters, have they? And they've got Back to the Future and all that.
Yeah, DC Comics, Marvel.
I might have to stop this stream a bit soon.
But you know what? Like, I just look around and see what's popular, and I think, yeah, I mean, the mixture of technology and pop culture, and give it a few years, you don't know, man. It could be, you don't know where it's going to go.
Well,
you know,
essentially, Dan, you followed the classic rule of really, when there's a gold rush, sell spades. That's what this is. Sell shovels. That's the saying, isn't it? When there's a gold rush, sell shovels.
And by the way, just one more thing on Ecomi. One of their big marketing guys, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was the guy who brought Pokemon to the West. So, you know, Pokemon used to be just a Japanese cartoon. He was the one responsible for bringing it to the West and making it as big as it was here. He works for Ecomi, for VV. So what I was saying earlier, look at the team, look at what their connections are. Make a decision, and that's what I've done. So I would encourage people to do the research.
And it would appear they've got Marvel. Oh my god,
they've got Marvel, yeah, and these are exclusive agreements. No other company can use this stuff because they've got the licensing. You know, so there you go. There's all the stuff. It's tapping into that fandom culture. You know,
whether you love pop culture, gaming, sports, film and TV, or anime and animation, VV offers digital collectibles from your favorite brands, including Marvel, Batman, Marvel, Batman, Adventure Time, Monster Hunter, NFLPA, DC collectibles, Star Trek, Jurassic Park, Fast and the Furious, Back to the Future, Ultraman, Superman. My days. So yeah, you're buying shovels in a gold rush. That is very interesting.
And yes, I am getting paid by them, but don't take that.
Paid promotion. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Yeah.
But no, you know, it's like when I first heard about that, I was like, I invested in it maybe at the beginning of this year, and it was very hard to invest in it because it was so new. But I spent an entire weekend just setting everything up so I could get it, because it was like a gut feeling. I thought, I think this has got legs in a long-term way, and I want to get in now. So that's
okay,
what
Dan.
I did.
So go into that in a bit more detail. So, because I think a lot of people have got fear around this kind of thing, and they feel like, and it is complicated if you're going in blind. So take us through that process. So how did you find out about VV, for instance? So you'd heard about NFTs probably because you researched crypto, and that was obvious. That obviously came into your sort of world.
Yeah, well, they weren't called NFTs when I heard about it. They were called digital collectibles. and this was about a year ago. I
Okay.
thought, what does that mean? And there was a few things running around. There was a company called Bitmans, which were like digital diamonds. And I looked at that and I thought, well, I understand what they're trying to do, but why would anyone just want a digital diamond? I mean, what is that? It's just a graphic of a precious stone that doesn't exist. You could go out and buy a real diamond, that's real value. But when I saw things getting into real world brands and pop culture and huge big things that are already so popular, I thought that's probably where it's going to go. If you can, I mean, I'm a child of the 90s. I used to collect Premier League football cards and sticker books.
Panini.
You know? Yeah, exactly. I used to. I mean, and it would take you all season to fill out that bloody book. And if there was a kid in the playground that had a card you needed, you would trade him for it, right? Just imagine that, but on an app where you can trade and sell these things at whim, and you know that's basically what it is, to simplify it all. And I thought, you know, if there was something like that around, then that's probably what. And then I found Vivi, and I know nothing about the NFL, but they've got the NFL license, and I thought, well, yeah,
wow,
that's it for me. Like I'll take a chance on this one, and it's still really cheap. I mean, it's less than a penny to buy into this shit.
So they put a lot of money into this to get all these licenses, you know, just the ones.
Well, they've clearly got connections, because you can't just start something up and use Spider-Man to sell your product.
No, you know, I just saw it on the website.
Yeah, you need to have the legal access to be able to do that, and the partnership and the relationships to do that stuff. And they've got so many of them. And I'm thinking, well, you know, it's just a no-brainer to me. What can I say? Either you get it or you don't, and I would suggest everyone to look into it, even if they don't fully understand it. Just
for sure.
The
information is out there. You can't counterfeit an NFT because it's using blockchain technology. That's its strength. Yeah. Nice to see you, Yaffle. An absolute pleasure to see you turn up. I think your point there you made was very good. You know, kids growing up today, they've got a tablet or an iPhone when they're 4 years old. They're not going to want a sticker album. They're going to want their images on their phone, and that's how they're going to trade them. They're going to trade them via apps on their phones.
Exactly. You know, it's hard to get out of that mindset when you're a kid and what you used to do. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and I said, "You never see kids playing with toys anymore. You know, just toys. You don't see it. When I was a kid, I had toy cars, I had fucking Power Rangers, monsters, all that sort of stuff. You don't see kids playing with toys anymore. There's just toys. I mean, Toys R Us went under. There's no, you know, I'm sure kids do play with toys, but very, very young, under fives. But beyond that, there's not really anything going on, as far as I'm aware. Everything's just becoming digitalized and integrated with all of these devices and technology. So, you know, just try and predict where the wind's blowing, and you know, give it a go. Why not? I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I could be right as well. And I think I am, to be honest.
This is that one that went for 69 million. This is an NFT that he sold for 69 million.
Yeah, I mean, again, I look at that and I think, why? But
it's people, isn't he? Yeah, but this is the art world. You know, you can look at a Picasso and think, why?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the art world's always been detached from everything, so I don't think that's an effective way of judging NFTs as an industry. I think you've got to look at something like Vivi and see what they're doing.
I think you're right. Actually, I think that I've got his name because I saw it, but that's Beeple, isn't it? He was a meme maker. Beeple. He was known. Yeah. But I think in a way it was kind of like the launching of NFTs. And if you're going to launch something like that, you've got to go in big. You know, you're not going to get in the Independent or the Guardian, God bless them, with a story of people trading trading Spider-Man cards on their phone. But if you've got a bloke who's created this thing and someone paid 69 million for it, now you've got a story. And by the end of that story, in 10 years, kids will be trading cards, digital cards that with value on their phones.
Just someone in the chat, Dan is right, and that's a sad commentary on society. You're absolutely right, but yeah, that, I mean, I can't change it. I'm just trying to take advantage of it.
Hang on. What is Bias and American Club? I'm not disagreeing with you, but what is a sad commentary on society? I've missed something here.
I would assume he's talking about the digitization of everything and how kids they're so stuck in their devices all the time rather than
but we had this with the Industrial Revolution, and all technologies. We had this when we started using sticks to break things open. That was technology, and and when we started making spears, that's technology, and it allowed people to eat easier because they didn't have to try and wrestle a bison, or I'm sorry to say bison, American club. I wonder why I used that one. But so technologies have historically came with good and bad. There's negative and positive consequences to technology all the way through human history. I'm not necessarily sure if it's a sad comment on society. It's how these technologies are used, and you could even argue it's better that these kids aren't using paper because 30 million Panini sticker albums in the dump at the end of every football season. I'm sure isn't.
Are you going to make a green argument here, Chris? Are you part of the Green New Deal?
Dan, this is going to blow your mind. All right, so I always watch Good Morning Britain clips on YouTube, right? And I was watching it the other just so that I might be able to make a video out of them because it's they're low hanging fruit and they're good fun. And it was what is it? He wants to put in Insulate Britain is the new movement, and they're running across the M25. I know that geezer, Liam. I know
really.
Yeah.
Oh,
and when I saw him, I was there with my morning tea, and it was like. And
Jesus Christ!
Can you imagine seeing an old mate sort of at the head of Extinction Rebellion? You'll be like, oh,
what happened?
Yeah, so I've immediately gone to a mate and gone, oh, you know that Liam? And he went, yeah, it's him. I'm like, no. And then I started making a video about it, and I just couldn't because he wasn't doing great, to be honest. Nice one, Mouse Cat, much appreciated. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, don't crash on me now. Thank you, Mouse Cat. That's great. All right, Dan, let's get off of all this. So how are you? How are you in yourself? What's me and you had something similar. You were in the newspapers. I think it was worse for you because you had people knocking on your grandmother's door. I was accused of grooming teenage Nazis,
which is the most ridiculous thing ever, by the way. That was crazy, but whatever.
He wrote to me like they wrote to you, and they said, we're going to run this article. You're in it. Do you want to say anything? We're running an article about far-right terrorists. You're in it.
Well, thank you.
Well, I've always been one for a bit of exposure, but this is a little bit. There's something here that's not right. But I wrote back to him, and I shouldn't have done, really. I just wrote back. I should have learned never to respond emotionally. Give it an hour at least, and then you go back and you'll deal with it intellectually. But I didn't. I just wrote, putting me in that article is insane, and they know that. He knows that I didn't do that. There's no way he could have seen those Talking with Teens videos and thought, yep, that's him recruiting Nazis. There's no way. I was talking to blokes about girlfriends, relationships. One of them was autistic. One had Asperger's. Now, that's not to say all autists and Asperger's aren't far-right terrorists, but they weren't. Right. They weren't. And, they sandwiched me in between a photo of a skull with a Waffen SS hat on with flames coming out his eyes and actual terrorists and actual terrorists. Somebody, and then Hope Not Hate the bastards put me on Twitter, and this bare-chested far-right YouTuber operating from his base in Cambodia. The house is another word you could use for base.
You're like a Bond villain. Good Lord.
Yeah. The funny thing about it, though, Dan, I won't waste time finding the picture, but the picture they used, my expression looks like I was responding to what they just said about me. I was sort of going,
yeah.
With my silly hat on, it was like, no one's buying this. This weirdo is not doing anything wrong, 100%. So we both went through a bit of that, and I was pissed. I had people ringing me up going, what's this about you and grooming neo-Nazis? And I was going, it's as much a shock to you as it is to me, mate. But I did have to sit back, and I started thinking, you know, this could have real world implications for me. And so you come out the other side of all that. It was funny though. You had the last laugh, didn't you? Because YouTube yeeted your channel before they published the article, which I thought was a bit of a laugh on them.
Well, the reason why that happened was because of the journalist that exposed me, Mark Townsend. He got in touch with YouTube, and YouTube were like, "Oh, you're writing an article. Well, we're going to get rid of him then." So he released an article about a YouTuber that wasn't on YouTube anymore. So it's almost like, what the fuck is the point then? Like, I didn't get banned for content or for breaking the terms of service. I got banned because a journalist rang up YouTube and said, "I'm going to write about this guy on your platform." That's why they got rid of me. And yeah, it's just hilarious. I mean, what's that guy going to do for the rest of his career? On his deathbed, he's going to be like, "Well, at least I got the iconoclast taken off YouTube. Give me a break."
Yeah,
what's the point, you know?
In a way, that's sort of like a little saving grace with these things, because that bloke that wrote that nonsense in the Times, at some point when he was at journalism school, he was probably going to fight for good in the world and you know, reportage.
Well, you'd hope, but I don't think so.
Well, you know, yeah. I can't imagine you'd go to uni to study journalism and think I'm just going to be a left-wing activist when I'm in my 30s. I can't see that.
I don't know, but I think it attracts those types. I think it's such an easy thing to get into. It's like media studies. I did, God, what did I study? Film and TV production when I went to university. Biggest mistake in my life. But I was genuinely interested in making entertainment, like being a creative person, but there was no one there to tell me, "Dan, this is bullshit. Don't fucking get into debt for this. If you really want to be that guy, then go out and make stuff, and get a proper job to fund it, to fund your passions." Right? Nobody said that to me, and I still sort of resent that in a way. But at the same time, what's the point in holding on to it? But you know, journalism, I think, from my experience, is sort of the same thing. It's got this sort of weird mystique about, oh, I'm going to do journalism because it's an easy thing to do at university. And, you know, people just, you know, they do it for convenience, I suppose. I knew a lot of people that did that. But yeah, I've forgotten the point I was going to make. What was?
Well, we're just talking about journalists going to university, and you weren't told that there's better ways of doing it. I think you're right, and especially with the technology we've got at the moment. I went to art school to be an artist, and I came out a communist. It wasn't a mistake. That's what it was. I can remember one bloke. We were in a seminar on my master's degree. And he just went, look, he said, I've moved from America to come here. I have to pay full whack as a foreign student. Yeah. And I came here to learn about philosophy. He said, and it's just a communist boot camp. And the whole room was sort of like, oh, he said it. You're not allowed to say that. You just go along with it. You know, and I was fully indoctrinated by that point. I was like, yeah, it is, but that's a good thing. That's what they should be doing, because we need a communist revolution.
Well, I think when I was in university, I don't think it was that blatant, even though I was doing a very artsy sort of course. Everyone there was left wing, of course they were, but it was never. I never sat in a lecture and heard the guy say, "And we must push this agenda" or something like that. It was never like that. But it was made very clear that if you didn't believe in certain social projects and movements, then you're probably not going to have a good time. And back then, it's hard to judge, because I really wasn't political when I was 19. I didn't give a shit. I was just a 19-year-old. Like, who cares? I hadn't lived a life. I've got no experience in the real world, and I was at university to go to class 5 hours a week and get drunk 50 hours a week. That was the reason I was there. And I'm not going to deny it. That's the reason why lots of people go to university, man. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
An art school, especially, you know, it was there was a lot of great sex. I have to give it that. But
I had none of that. I had none of that.
No, I'm sure you didn't. The weird thing with my MA more than my first degree was that we studied Marx, we studied Freud, we studied Christeva, we studied Nietzsche, we studied various things, but we didn't study them critically. We were taught them. You know, this is what Marx thinks. And what because it was cultural studies, which was the precursor to social justice. You know, I had to study feminism, I had to study critical race theory, but it wasn't critical. It was, this is what Marx says, and it's right.
Yeah.
And so what the critical element was, the way they blagged it was, now go and find a cultural artifact like a piece of music, a piece of art, the miners' strike, you know, anything, any historical moment, object or artifact, and apply that methodology to it. So you get the illusion that you're learning, but you're actually being indoctrinated with left-wing ideas.
Yeah, and it's you're getting indoctrinated before you've actually had a life as well. So imagine if you could only go to university when you're 30.
Right, interesting.
Very few people would buy into that. But you go when you're 18 and you've got no experience of life whatsoever, and you're getting told this stuff by an authority figure in an institution, and you think, okay, yeah, well, I guess that's the truth then. But if I went to, I mean, when did I start my channel? I think I was 26 when I started. If I went to university when I was 26, I'd be like, you're talking all fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, even by then, I knew that was nonsense. You know, go to Paris and figure it out. That's it. That's all I'll tell you. So it's interesting, but again, you get them young, and then the soldiers for life in a way. And what's happening now is, like, you know, kids go to university and they do these courses, and it's sort of a false sense of security. They leave, and if they're lucky to get a job, they've got it in an industry which is just, I mean, does it really matter? It's very insulated, and there's no necessity for them to actually go out into the world. And it's very clever what they've done. Very clever. But, you know, that's the way it is, unfortunately.
That's an excellent point. If you went to it's no surprise. I've never thought of it in that way before, that my art teacher, who has been on my channel, and he was a great bloke, and he was a mentor to me. He told me that art has a relevance in society, but it has to have a social, historical, and political role and function. Otherwise, it's just pissing. You know, it's just might as well be chocolate box watercolors. And he really made me understand. You know, without artists, our cultural history will be dominated by advertising and marketing, because that will be our visual culture. And it was a really good point. But when I said to him, I'm going to start an MA, I was really young. I think I was the youngest person to get an MA in Leeds. I finished it when I was 23, but he told me not to. I said to him, listen, I've got a place at Leeds on the master's degree, thinking he'd go, oh, amazing. And he went, yeah. He said, it is good that you've achieved that. It's a great achievement. It shows something about you. But I think you should get out there and wash dishes for a few years and live on your, you know, pay your way and not live at your mum's, and find out a bit about the world. And he said, because not only will you then get more out of your master's degree, but you'll also understand it better. It will make more sense to you. And I wish I'd have taken that advice, but of course, no, I'm going to do it tomorrow and it was bullshit. It was bullshit. But luckily we were still getting loans then. We were still getting housing benefit then as students. And I was the year when they first brought in the loans, but they were still giving us grants. So I was getting a loan and a grant. And so all these students are broke. I hadn't had that much money ever. And it took me a good 20 years to have that much again. It was
right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're young, if you're 18 or 19 and someone comes along, you've got an option of going to art college and being all lovey-dovey with all these artists and hot women. And then this guy comes along and says, no, you should fucking go wash dishes for a few years and get some, like, you're like, what? What are you talking about, you loser? No, I'm going to art college and doing all this. And I guess, you know, all these points have been said before. Universities are a massive recruitment camp for the left at this point. But I mean, getting back to what you originally asked me about when my channel got deleted and I got doxxed, I think that's just the inevitable result of that system, isn't it? That's the pipeline. These people who go to university and buy into that stuff, they fall into these industries and jobs where they're encouraged to act in the exact same way that they were taught at university, where there was no dissenting opinion whatsoever. And unfortunately, the entire media class are corrupted by that sort of thinking. And that's, unfortunately, that's the way it is. And when I got doxxed, I wasn't worried about me. I mean, I couldn't give two shits, but it was the effect on my immediate family that I was worried about. You know, people turning up at my grandmother's door. Why would you do that? What is the point of that? And the point is intimidation. The point is just an exercise of power. Like, we can do this to you, so you better stay in line. That's what the point of that is. My mother, for example, was extremely worried. She thought that my life was over, and I said, "Why are you fucking worried about that? Like, don't worry about that. I'll be fine. Don't you worry. It's okay." And you know, that's the worry from all that stuff. It's the effect on other people in your life, and they know that as well. That's why they do it, because I'm not a cartoon character. I'm not a far-right dictator who has no emotions and no relationships with any other people. They know that I have connections in life, relationships with people, family connections, and that's what they go for. And by the way, they had way more information about me than they published, because I'm not a dumb idiot. I hit them with a legal letter, and I said, you can't do this. There's no justification for doing this. So they held back on a lot of information that they had about me.
Oh, hang on. This is a bit of a what they call it, a scoop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I don't want you to say anything that'll get you in trouble, but what happened here? Because I didn't even know about this at the time.
Well, so it was a similar story to what you were saying, how they got in touch with me and said, we're publishing this. Do you have anything to say? Very matter-of-factly. And I didn't reply. I left it a day or two, and I consulted lawyers. I said, listen, this is what's happening. What's my response?
Hang on, Dan. Sorry to interrupt. Didn't they say something to you like, we know you're Dan so-and-so of so-and-so street? They gave you, and so they were implying they were going to put all that information in.
They knew everything about me, everything. Wow. And you read the article, and there's less than half of that in there. They just put the basic shit in there, and you can't even identify me really from what they wrote. So I consulted local legal firms, and I said, this is what's happening. What can I do? And thankfully, there was a legal firm that gave me some free services. They said, listen, we're going to do this for you. Yeah. And they didn't agree with my politics. We had a frank discussion. I said, listen, you don't agree with me. That's fine. But they apparently were dedicated to law and doing their job. And they sent me a letter. Wow. I sent it over there. And what came out was like a very watered down version of what they probably would have put out. It didn't even have a picture of me in the article.
What an absolute touch.
But that's the thing. Like, you've got to, if stuff like this happens to you, even though you can be skeptical of the institutions that are supposedly there to help you, you have to try, and you have to go to them, and you have to talk to them, because you never know. You might find a good one. And that's what I did. And again, I didn't do it for my protection. I did it because, well, it's going to destroy the lives of the people that I know. And that was my concern. So I did what I could. I couldn't stop the channel getting deleted. I couldn't stop the article coming out, but, you know, I see it as a victory in that sense.
No, that's incredible. And it kind of restores your faith that a legal firm that didn't agree with you weirdly weren't activists, and they believed in law, and they believed in what's right. Yeah.
I mean, the guy that I was speaking to, I'm under no illusions. If he and I were in a room together, we disagree on literally everything. But he was a lawyer.
Adults can deal with that.
Exactly. And we're not in university anymore. That's the thing. We're in the real world, and there's adults, and they know what they have to do. You know, they've got responsibilities, and you know that's the way it is. But it was still hard on my family. I couldn't really give too much of a shit about it. But again, you have to deal with the fallout for other people. So
I didn't enjoy that conversation with my mother when I went, Mum, I've got to just warn you that you might get people knocking at your door. And my mum's had a lot of people knock at her door after me over the years. And when I told her, she was like, well, it's better than the bloody police. I suppose that was her response. She's quite a tough old bin. But so Dan, a change again, because I'm trying to get as much out of you before you have to dash.
Sure
so
thing.
You're a very talented filmmaker. I think, without a doubt, although you described your videos as disaster porn, there was an amazing sense of humour. I mean, I couldn't watch Way of the World, even when I was fully immersed in nationalist politics. I couldn't watch it. That fucking music. I was like, oh, we're all doomed. This is the world. I'll be like, but yours was you were serious when you had to be, but you called people out and it was funny. But you're without a doubt a talented filmmaker. Is there anything? Are you pursuing that in any way, or is if you've got I obviously don't want you to. It's weird because sometimes these things you don't want to talk about. So I don't want to ask you things you might not want to talk about. But it seems to me it'd be a terrible shame if you weren't making some kind of visual content, because you're very, very good at it.
Well, thanks a lot. And the answer to that is, I would love to do something like that, but I just don't know where I'd fit in. And I don't know what the angle I would take would be. If you're talking about, in a political sense, making content like that, I don't really have a desire to do that. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'd much rather just sort of pop in and out of conversations and give my take. Because I think the age of channels doing that stuff is over. There's still a few people that can do it well. I still watch Morgoth and things like that. But overall, I think that scene is sort of gone now, and I wouldn't want to try and resurrect it because I don't think there's any point.
No, for sure.
So I think, I don't know, I would like to say I'd get into that in the future again. But at this moment in time, I'm trying to solidify myself in my actual life, financially, socially, relationships, all that sort of stuff. And I'm doing okay at it. And I think once that's all sorted out, who knows? I would love to. Listen, my original plan for the Iconoclast, which I'm not going to do now because it's past its day, but I wanted to start a media company. I wanted to get off YouTube and have our own sort of platform. And I wanted to hire other people to make content. And I wanted to have sort of an offensive media company that really goes for the throat. That's what I want.
A bit like your magazine, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, the magazine, that was like, I love physical media, and I think people neglect it, and there's an audience out there for it. But overall, my original plan was to have a media company that could really be offensive and go for it, But you can't just start that. You need money to start that, and maybe that'll come back in the future if I feel that there's a need for it. But at this point, it's impossible. So I'm never saying never, and it might not be the Iconoclast, it might be something completely different, but that's where I was leaning, because I knew YouTube had a shelf life and individual channels, they're only as good as their collective impact. So I thought, well, why not just collectivize everything and go for it? But who knows? Well, we'll see. I'd love to. In theory. In theory, I'd love to do it, but realistically, I don't know. It might take some time.
It's very interesting how we've kind of ended up in very similar areas. My channel, I rarely talk about politics. If I'll talk about what's going on in America in a very kind of broad sense, it's news reading. Do you know about this? Do you know about this? But I'm exactly with you on that. It's about personal growth, looking after yourself, and all the things we've talked about, finances and just getting a little bit more local, coming back into yourself rather than waking up and seeing the whole world, and the weight of that on your shoulders is pretty heavy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really enjoying my life at this point. Again, there's this weird in this scene. There's this thing like, if you don't have a channel, if you're not making content, then you don't really exist, and you're not really contributing to the wider I don't know what you call it, consciousness of what we're trying to achieve. But if everyone in this movement did their best to improve their own lives in every aspect, then it'll be a much stronger movement, and it'll have much more well-adjusted people in it, and you could actually achieve things. I mean, you made the joke about it earlier. you sort of said it in jest, but I agree. It's an actual thing. You know, going to the gym and keeping fit like that. We say, oh, well, go to the gym, lift some weights. But yeah, actually do that.
No,
you know, it's everything. You've got to do everything you can to improve yourself. Because if you improve yourself, then you can improve the lives of the people around you.
And also, like, you know, I've turned it on its head, the whole grift thing. I get called a grifter by everyone. You never see that on the left. It just blows my mind that the right, you're not allowed to earn money. You can't earn money. And so everyone's skint. And so when the dare I say far right does activism, what's in the coffers?
Nothing.
£17. Let's make a banner. You know, and the left have got mad funds. I mean, obviously they've got old Sorge Goros. Did you hear that China called him a global terrorist?
I did see that, yeah. And I was like, Christ, you're late to the party, aren't you, China? Good Lord. Yeah. Hey, listen, Chris, I might take off now.
No, I'm chucking you out. I got bored of you before you got bored of me.
It happens. It happens. I want to say thanks to the chat. It's been nice to be back. Might come on in the future. Who knows? We'll see.
And listen, people, we'll have a big D in the chat for Dan, please. But also, I would ask you to take heed of what Dan said. You know, he didn't know anything about all that crypto, and he went out and found the information, and he's done well out of it. And it's given him freedom. It's given him choices in life, which is what we need, which is what you need. And he's a living example of that. He done it. And so, you know, don't let them tell you this isn't for you because you're working class or because you went to a crappy school. This stuff is out there. Dan, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. It's been fucking brilliant talking to you. And, you know, we made friends. You put your neck on the line for a long time to liaise with someone as disgusting as me. And that will always be appreciated, mate.
You know I don't give a fuck about any of that, so it's fine. Whatever.
It's great stuff.
Life's too short, man. All right, thanks a lot. I'll watch this back and make sure I don't come across like a complete tit.
That's usually Hugh's line. You filled in because he's not here. You said what you usually said.
Oh, Hugh. We all love him.
You know,
anyway, mate.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Dan, look after yourself, mate. Lovely to talk to you, and thanks again.
All right, cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, man. Well, there you go, people. I'll tell you what. I mean, me, Dan, and Hugh don't talk like we used to. Dan's busy making fortunes, buying houses. That's not bad. That's not bad for a young man, is it? That's not bad at all. And he said to me just the other day, said, yeah, I might hop on one of your streams. And as soon as he set that in my head, I was thinking, please do. Because he's just such an honest, lovely, compassionate bloke. And Fionn, I mean, Dan was a long shot, but I didn't ask him. He said, but that will not happen. That I can't see that ever. I talked to him the other day, video chat, and had a real laugh. But ironically, look, I don't want to. It's unfair to tell you what Hugh's doing, but he's doing what Dan's doing. He's come back into his own life. He's developing himself. He's making his life better. You know, I'm not going to go into any details, but we need to do this. You need to do this. However old you are, whatever your situation, improve it. You know, shore it up a bit because you can. And when we were talking about crypto, when we were talking about NFTs, when we were talking about investments, I saw comments in the chat, fuck all that, blah, blah, blah. You lose money, this, that, and the other. Okay, you can be negative about it if you want and not involve yourself in it. That is also an option. But when I hear things like that from people, I tend to think, and through experience, that they're like that about a lot of things in life. And they haven't made the most of opportunities. They haven't made the most of chances because they haven't got the bottle. They haven't got the bottle to grow. They haven't got the bottle to take risks. And they haven't got the energy and the drive to actually go out and look into this stuff. And you really should, because this is your one and only life. Tomorrow, I'll go through the super chats in a minute because I did miss a few. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock UK time, we've got the Scrubs Music Festival. We've got about 25 songs that Scrubs have recorded, whether in bands or solo. Most of them are bands, thankfully. I don't want too many flute parts. This is me on the recorder. That'll start at 5 o'clock UK time. When we've done the gallery, it was one of the best streams we ever done. When we done the photos of us as teenagers with highlighted Princess Diana haircuts and shell suits, it was one of the best we've done. So this might be one of those. So Strontium Dog, crypto shaming us. There you go. Ian makes guitars. Yeah, we have. I've linked to your channel a few times. Yeah, and I really respect you, Ian. You're doing it. You're making it happen. But tomorrow at 5, the Scrubs Music Festival. This is how it's going to work. So I haven't heard any of them. I've heard one piano piece because he asked me to produce it a bit more, but I couldn't anyway. So I'd only heard the first couple of bars. So what we'll do, we'll come on. I've got visuals that I think it was Lomax sent me. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone. And we'll play a tune. I'll say, right, this is a tune. It'll either be a YouTube video or just audio. Someone in the there you go, Gaffney. That's great. Take sensible risks and educated risks. And don't risk what you can't afford to lose, of course. Don't get all caught up in it. Oh, I made that amount this year. Oh, fuck it. I'll throw everything in, and because then lose everything. And then we'll listen to the track. We'll have a little chat about it, say what we think about it. And, I think that takes a fair amount of balls, actually, to submit your music. Some of them are like, this is a band I was in 20 years ago. That takes some balls to put that. I've got a tune that I haven't played to the Scrubs before that I'm going to be part of the Scrubs Music Festival. Maybe it'll be the opening one. Set the bar low. So after that one, you'll all enjoy it. So Scrubs Music Festival, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 1700 hours UK time. It'll be a real blast. We'll go through and we'll have a chat. People can put in their tuppence worth. Everyone likes to think they're an expert on music because basically no one is. Thank you for joining us today. Let's have a look at these super chats because I missed some. So Cheryl Peters dropped a tenner. She said, Tuesday, weird grift. Hello, Scrubber Dubs and our host. Packer dropped £2. He said, wow, Dan, lovely. Chris Brinkley dropped £2. He said, Sargon created his own media site. It's mint, in my opinion. What is that? The Lotus Eaters or something? I mean, no, it's good if you like Sargon. But, he's got his place. Chris also dropped another £2 and said, globalist media radicalizes patriots responsively. That's a fair point, actually. Doug Giuliano said, Devon, Tracy put me on to you. Greetings from across the pond. Nice one, Doug. Chris also said, we will defend our islands and then try and help others. It's a fair point. Charity begins at home and all that. Fionn McRon dropped $1.99, said, is Revolt good for buying stocks and shares? If you're new, and are you UK or USA? Let me know, Fionn, if you're UK or USA. I thought you were Ireland, to be honest with you, or maybe Northern Ireland. And Cheryl Peters said, send in another to make up for the 3 thumbs down. I'm sure I missed some more, so I'm just going to refresh me entropy. And I apologise if I have missed some. No, it would appear there's no more. Because, I'm trying to listen to Dan as well. And if you don't listen to your guest, you... no, there's no more shown on entropy. So sorry if I missed some. I think a couple of other people threw a few quid in. So thank you very much. So if you're on his Northern Ireland, I think you can get on free trade. Free trade, very easy to use. Thank you, Fionn. I think you can get on free trade in the Republic of Ireland. So just go to the App Store, free trade, download it. I think it's $3 a month. And, it's simple from there on, just it's a shame you missed the stream about it, but ping me an email or something. I'll give you a little bit of advice. I won't tell you where to put your money, but I'll tell you how to look into it. It's so easy to use. You put in the stock you want to buy. It comes up, tells you how much it is. You move some money from your bank into free trade by pressing a couple of buttons, and then you press buy, and it's all good. Rusky says there was a few donations without comment. Maybe that's why they're not showing up on Entropy. I know Marzipan dropped £1, and there was a few other quids. So I will see you all. Kieran says you can't get free trade in the Republic of Ireland. I think they might be rolling it out there. Hang on, let me just check. Hang on, are you Northern Ireland or Republic of Ireland? I thought someone just said, Republic of Ireland. Yeah, Fionn said it. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what the... Coming to Ireland soon. There you go. The official free trade website says coming to the Republic of Ireland soon. So you're going to have to hang on a little bit there, Fionn. But I've just seen that they are coming to the ROI soon. So how long is a piece of string and all that. If you enjoyed this stream and you want me to get more guests on, give me money and I will. I'll see you at the music festival tomorrow. But now we'll have a little bit of music from our man, Paul Mumford. Thank you all for coming. It's been a real pleasure. I was made up that Dan came on, and I will see you for the music festival. Demain. Take care, people. Ciao. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. This was. Give me a sound check, people. I bet this does that weird thing again where it says, nah, you can't watch this. Whoa. Can we have an happy birthday to Ralph Winter? You can write anything like happy birthday or RW, but just let him know he's an OG scrub, been around these parts a long time. I've even done it in a mixture of capitals and smalls. Happy birthday, Ralph. Have a cracker. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Everyone knows I'm gonna be the first man down.
See you later, MSM.
All my friends are sick of having me around.
See you later, MSM.
Nobody wants to give a buddy one last break.
See you later, MSM.
Can't go on, I'm taking all I'm making.
See you, Lomax. Special thanks to Mosaic Labrador and Rags for looking after the place. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thanks to everyone who chatted in the chat. And thanks to all the most delightfuls and lurkers who just enjoyed it. And give us your fucking money. Good Lord. See you later, Paul. Oh, it's small. Now it's Salmon, then it's Paul, now it's Smiler. Good Lord. Oh, Mark. What's happening? Corona. Here we go. Everyone ready? See you later, MSN.
Woman says I'm lying in the bed I've made.
See you later, MSN.
Warriors don't
look after yourself, LC. See you later, MSN.
So I get high to justify the mess I'm in.
See you later, MSN.
People get mad and people get sad, but at least they have a cause. Struggle to feel emotion that can
it all went mad then.
I'm going deep, deep down underwater. Gonna make my grave underneath the wave. I'm going
nice one, Chris.
down.
Rags is asking me to check my Telegram.
Gonna lay my head.
Oh, okay. I can't. It's a bit too late, Rags. I'll have a look after. That does look interesting. Thank you, Chris. MSM. You need to get yourself a new Ethernet cable. Oh, Mark, such a shame. Take care, Baz. Oh, yeah. That was it, wasn't it? Give us your fucking money. I can't do that Irish impression.
I'm going deep, deep down.
See you later, Cheryl Peters.
Gonna make my grave
See you later, MSM.
underneath the waves.
See you later, MSM.
I'm going deep, deep down underwater.
All right, Timmy boy. I'll have a look amongst the other 50,000. This week. Oh no, girlfriend's here. When my girlfriend goes.
Gonna make my grave
So next week.
underneath the waves. I'm going deep, deep down.
Give us your fucking money. That's better. That's what it was when it was fucking. Well, I'm absolutely made up to have spoken with Dan. Lovely, lovely. I will see you all tomorrow. Oh, it's a music festival. Oh, it's the first Scrubs music festival. You better go on Foxtrot Oscar and clean your ears.